is living so far from God, and yet their life seems to be easy and free. And so this is a big hurdle. And is the Bible telling us that that's the equation we should make? If things are going well, you're doing everything right. If things are going poorly, you must be, out of sync with God. It seems like the Christian life gets harder, more complicated with time. Is that true? Does it? I mean, it seems like the early days of being a believer or getting serious about your faith are so sweet. Why can't we stay in the euphoria of the early days of faith? This is episode 30 of season 2 of Unhurried. I'm your host, Doug Kyle. Ryan, of course, is with me in the studio. I can't believe 30 episodes. That's of season 2.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know.
Yeah, 30 episodes since we started doing the video portion, the YouTube portion of this. So
yeah. I know. I keep every week. I think I learn something new about how to do something. We've met with people to try and talk about our podcast and see what else we can do, what else we can add. So we've got some new things on the horizon for season 3. But I'm so thrilled, to do it every week. So.
Yeah, I mean, a year and a half ago, this was just sort of a dream, and now it's happening. Yeah. And I love hearing the comments every Sunday. I get comments, people that are tracking along. I know there's people that they went on vacation and then they tried to binge it a little bit on vacation, listening on the road, or other people just doing a long drive and then they're catching up with it. So people are, it's funny, they bring up stories of things we talked about maybe a couple months ago. They're just sort of catching up with it. Yes. And then I'm going, oh yeah, we did talk about that. That's right. Well, and I want to say, well, keep waiting. There's more ahead.
There's more. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I there's like two different, there's the people that are tracking with us like every week. So they text me or they'll email or they'll talk to us on Sunday. Yeah. And so I go, oh yeah, that's right. We did talk about that. And then like you said, like some people are just busy and life happens and, I'll binge, a podcast or a show or something to catch up on. Yeah. And but they do talk to us about something that happened like a long time ago. And I have to go, wait, did we talk about that in person, or did we talk about that on the air? Like I always get confused. You know what I mean?
Like, someone brought up the Huggies thing to me this week. Like, I go, that was a long time ago. That was a while ago. We were talking about Huggies,
but it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I love it that there's still a buzz. And I'm glad they're talking to you about it too.
For sure.
You're getting comments about it.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Well, today I want to talk about why can't the Christian life always be easy. I really love this topic. So I'm, those of you that are listening along, I'm really glad that we get to have this dialogue, because I think it's something that's rarely talked about and can actually blindside believers if they're not careful.
Sure.
This idea that why doesn't it always stay easy in the Christian life? Why do we have to have those tough times? And you and I are both talking, coming into this podcast, that's kind of real life. That's sort of kind of pertinent for us too. I mean, it's like that sometimes things go well and sometimes you get thrown by life.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Mandy always, I think I've shared this before on the podcast, but Mandy always talks about, like before I go out and play hockey or like, do something, out of the ordinary, she's always like, be Jesus, be like Jesus today, be that light to someone today, and so that always reminds me to, even though I might have some other things going on and, my life or whatever, or someone else might be having something going on, and we just kind of sometimes in hockey you physically run into each other,
Yeah.
But other times you just run into each other. You don't know where the other person is, but just be able to show the grace and show that would, that's just what Jesus modeled for us.
Yeah. And that's true. Your wife makes a lot of, you mentioned her a lot. We'd have to have her on the program again. She's like the wealth of the wisdom in your life.
Yes. I don't think I fooled anybody that I have all of this knowledge. I glean knowledge from you, and I glean knowledge from my wife, and I go, there we go. You know what I mean?
That's have Amanda, like a Q&A with Amanda podcast. That would be great.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into it today, I want to do the giveaway.
Sure.
And the plan is that we would have people enter by making comments on YouTube or sending us emails, and you'll get a hat. And then lately, not only a hat, but also a hat and a two-sided puck bottle opener. By the way, we first were giving away these Unhurried mugs that I'm holding up right now. And then last episode, we talked about the North Coast Cup. No one has claimed that. Has anybody told you? No one has claimed. Oh, that was mine.
Right.
That they left behind. Yeah. So if you missed the episode, someone left their mug from a different church at our church. That's fine.
I think I'm going to go drop it off somewhere else.
Well, if that's yours, we'd like to know about it. But it got me thinking, if you have a Unhurried mug, which I still see, around the lobby on Sunday mornings, if you have an Unhurried mug or a hat, what if people would send us a photo of them holding it in a cool or unusual place?
Yeah. That would be fun.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You can show us that, and then we'll reference it, or maybe even show it here on the YouTube. We can, if I don't know if you can insert photos.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I actually have a photo to talk to you about, but I'll wait for you to finish. So, today.
All right. Okay. All right. I can't wait. Anyway, so today we're gonna do the giveaway, but I want to call an audible and make an exception today. Instead of doing the random drawing. There is someone, I think you know who it is, who has gone to great lengths.
Has she been texting you as often as she texts me?
Yes. Okay. She is trying so hard to win a hat, and every week she doesn't. And I'm wondering if we need the extraordinary effort prize.
Maybe we do. Yeah.
I'm going to call an audible and have the extraordinary effort prize for someone who is, and maybe she'll stop pestering us.
Well, we usually do lunch or a late night ice cream run on Sundays.
Yeah.
And I can't even get through a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, we're just talking about the weather.
Yeah.
And here I am getting bombarded on when I'm going to get a hat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's the same for me.
Okay, cool.
Same for me. So, because of the extraordinary effort that is put in, congratulations to Maddie.
Yay,
Maddie, for winning. Literally, I just got an email from her 10 minutes ago.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. Going, so did I win? I'm going, we haven't even recorded yet. So anyway, congratulations.
Yeah. Congrats.
Or we could call it the Squeaky Wheel Prize. I don't know, but congratulations. Extraordinary effort to
Squeaky
Maddie.
Wheel might be her nickname.
And I want to see her wearing it proudly.
Oh, yeah. I better see it.
Yeah, we better see it. She wants it to be for her and her husband, that the two of them wear together.
Yes.
You know, they're newlyweds.
Right,
they'll look really cute.
He definitely is a hat guy. So, he wears hats all the time.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Congratulations, Maddie.
Woo.
I think we've had, I don't even know, I think we might have just one hat left. So next week might be the end of the hat giveaway.
Yeah.
So anyway, congratulations. So we're in the middle of these episodes. We're looking at lessons from the desert, trying to get a little sand in our sandals from the experience of the Israelites in the Sinai desert as they were making their way to the Promised Land. And the thing I want to lean into today is, why can't the Christian life always be easy? It sort of seems that way, doesn't it? It seems like early on, it just, for so many people, their experiences is going smoothly, it's exciting, everything seems to be falling in place, and then there comes this season where that changes.
Yeah.
And it often really throws people.
Sure.
If they're not aware that actually could be part of it, because their early experience is so good. And the reason I think this ties into what we talked about in the message on Sunday is because in Deuteronomy chapter 11, where we were focused, the Israelite, God gives the Israelites sort of a promise. He says, you enter the land. It was really to me a really interesting contrast. He says in Egypt, when you planted crops, it was hard work, and it was all built upon kind of human effort, as you would have to build these canals and then use foot power, which I imagine was like these ancient devices that would channel the water down these canals to their crops. But he says in the new land, the promised land, you're going to be able to water your crops with rain from heaven. And the idea is the contrast is between human effort and God's provision in the new land. So it's this really, I think, a beautiful picture of trusting God versus trusting ourselves. But then if you look more closely, it gets a little troubling, because you wonder, wait a second, is this promise here to the Israelites, is that telling us something about the way God blesses us and doesn't bless us? If you look more closely, it seems as if the blessing for the Israelites was directly attached to their obedience. And why is that troubling? Well, we all know that this has been a huge roadblock for a lot of believers. They go, I feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm doing, I'm living for the Lord to the best of my ability, and yet, I'm facing all these problems. Why aren't I having success? Or vice versa, they see someone else who's not living for the Lord, and everything seems to be falling in place for them. They go, how come that individual is living so far from God, and yet their life seems to be easy and free? And so this is a big hurdle. And is the Bible telling us that that's the equation we should make? If things are going well, you're doing everything right. If things are going poorly, you must be, out of sync with God.
Right. I remember one time you and I were talking, and you had said that there's times in your life and in your ministry where it's like things kind of outside of ministry seem to be kind of, falling apart or a little shaky, but then ministry is going well, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And it's like that struggle between the two.
Yes. Yeah. And if you start to look at, all the areas of your life, whether it's your ministry, or your vocation, your career, or your family life, or your outside relationships, your extended family, your social life, your activities, so, with time, it seems like something's going to be a little bit, out of sorts.
Right.
And how do we allow for that? And does that mean that I'm out of God's will if things aren't going smoothly?
Right.
The passage that I'm thinking about from Deuteronomy, it says this. I'll just read it to you. It's Deuteronomy 11:13-15, and Moses is telling this to the people. He says, if you faithfully obey the commands I am giving you today to love the Lord your God and serve him with all your heart and your soul, then God says, I will send rain on your land in its season, both autumn and spring rains, so that you may gather in your grain, new wine, and olive oil, and I'll provide grass in the fields for your cattle, and you will eat and be satisfied. And so is that how it always works? The promise there in the early days of the promised land was that if they were obedient, God was going to send the rain and crops, and everything's going to go well for them. And if they weren't, he goes on to say, I'm going to stop the rain. And it was easy for us to make the equation. If I'm doing things right spiritually, then everything's going to go well. But we know that that's not true to life. So what are we supposed to do with this? Here's what I said in the message. I said in the message, in those early days in the land, God wanted the people to have a direct indicator how they were doing in their love relationship with God. And so as they entered the promised land, God would give them this immediate feedback on their spiritual condition. I referenced one commentator who says it's like a spiritual thermometer. They would be able to measure directly how they're doing based on the rains and the crops. But the question that it raises, is that always the way it works? Does loving God and worshiping him always lead to material success? And if we don't have material success, does that mean I'm not where God wants me to be?
Right.
We know that's not true from the rest of the Bible, and we know that's not true from life. We look at Job. We did a whole series on him, and we look at other places in the New Testament where they talk about the value of trials and how God uses trials in the life of the believer, and how following the Lord sometimes means a very difficult path, not an easy path. Mm-hmm. So what are we supposed to do with a passage like this? And I want to take 4 deeper dives into this topic because, again, I think people get blindsided by this. They get, and I've never really taught. I don't know. I've never preached on this. I've never talked about it. I don't even know that I've had that many conversations with people on it. And yet I'm surprised because I think it's really, really important for us to understand this principle here. So 4 things I want to say about this, and tell me if Ryan, if this feels true to life from your experience and from the people that you know as well. Yeah. The first thing is that I think that God tends to dramatically confirm our faith in the early days with Him. Yeah, that is true to a lot of people's experience. That we start off, and this could either be, you become a Christian maybe in your teenage years or early adulthood or something, and those first few months, maybe even first few years, just everything does go really, really well, sort of parallel to the Israelites entering the Promised Land. They're in those initial days in the land, and God sets it up so that there's this direct correlation between their zeal and faithfulness to Him and how everything's going well. That does seem to be a lot of people's experience, and I think God does tend to do that. It's not a surprise then that sometimes happens. I'm going to quote, guess who?
C.S. Lewis.
That's a good guess. That's a really good guess. But this, people go, well, how come you quote him so much? And it's like, well, maybe that's all I've ever read. Maybe that's all I know.
Why does Ryan only sing Phil Wickham songs?
Exactly.
That's all I know.
It's
just all I know.
I did back in college. I did a semester, an independent study on C.S. Lewis alone.
Yeah, there you go.
It really was formative for me.
Right.
So I always go back to him. But I do have a couple other authors here just to show that I'm broader than that.
Hey, he's one of the best, if not the best.
He's got some really good things to say.
Yeah.
Someone just told me they went to the Bible Museum in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And it's a pretty new museum there.
Sure.
And they have a whole section on C.S. Lewis.
Yes.
In the Bible Museum.
Wow.
So,
that's pretty cool.
That shows
that's
that,
pretty cool.
He's definitely had some influence in modern Christianity.
Yeah, yeah. In high school, I did a Inklings class.
Okay, there you go.
I had to, it was, you had to write a paper and get accepted into this program for a semester. And we learned all about the Inklings. So we learned about, Tolkien and Dorothy Sayers and C.S. Lewis and kind of how they helped each other write and develop their faith and their theology and all that stuff. And so, so see, anytime you bring up C.S. Lewis, it kind of takes me back to high school a little bit.
See, Ryan, you're a closet C.S. Lewis fan. You just don't tell everybody like I do. You're secretly right there with me.
I am right there. Every time I see his picture pop up on the screens on Sunday, or I see a quote, I do get a little giddy,
I need to find some new photos of C.S. Lewis too, by the way. I feel like he doesn't photograph well. So I need to find something else.
Doesn't photograph what picture are you gonna get now?
I don't know. I need to find. There's got to be something.
Something else. Something. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but I just have a few there. But anyway, he wrote a really interesting book called The Screwtape Letters, which if you listeners aren't familiar with it, it's such a creative book. He basically writes from the standpoint of the devil, and the devil is advising his young nephew demon how to tempt people. So it's like opposite logic. It's like you read it and you go, well, this is how the devil thinks, and so I need to flip it around. So it's an interesting book. The the screw tape is the devil who is calling, or like a chief demon who is talking to his nephew, Wormwood, and he always talks about God as the enemy.
Right.
So you got to reverse the quote.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is in one of the chief demon's advice to the younger demon. Talks about the enemy, God, that God will set them, talking about new believers, he will set them off with communications of his presence, which though faint seem great to them, with emotional sweetness and easy conquest over temptation. And the idea is that God often does this with believers. He gives them this sweet beginning, this time where it's easy to overcome temptation, and you feel like you're super close to God, and everything's going so well. And then screw tape continues, but God never allows this state of affairs to last long. Sooner or later, he withdraws, not in fact from their conscious experience. He leaves the creatures to stand up on their own legs, to carry out from the will alone duties which have lost its all relish. In other words, now they don't have those feelings associated with the early days. They still have to live by faith rather than on the feelings. And the quote continues, "It's during such tough periods, much more than during the peak periods, that the human is growing into the sort of creature that God wants it to be." And so the idea here is that, according to C.S. Lewis, he saw that God often does give the initial kind of a honeymoon period with the believer, and everything does go well. And I think that's what's happening in Israel too. I think as they go into the Promised Land, they have this honeymoon period where everything was going to go well, because he wanted them early on. He wants to early on solidify their faith and make it strong. Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I was just coming to mind of when I, kind of really started to, because I grew up in the church, and it was very much went to church with my mom, and
from your early days you were following him.
Very early days. And so right now when you were talking, I was kind of thinking about how when I kind of, eventually was okay, now this is my faith. This is my faith, this is my life. I'm going to give my life to Christ. And how at first you have that mountaintop kind of high, and then some time goes by and you go, oh no, I'm falling down this mountain. You know what I mean?
And people worry when that happens.
Yes.
Oh no,
right?
Is this bad?
Yeah.
But it's so normal.
It's so normal, and then there's the hilltops and the valleys. You know what I mean? Where you kind of you have some real great moments of high, and then you've got some low moments, and life hits you. Sometimes things blindside you. And you just go, oh wow, I'm my faith is shaky right now. Christ is not, but my faith might be. And then it kind of forces you to dive deeper into that relationship, into that trust with Christ, and how he restores things for us.
I feel like that was true for me when I became a Christian at 14, but I kind of got rededicated my life when I was 17. And during my senior year of high school, I feel like there was that period where every prayer was answered, everything fell in place.
Yeah.
Miracle. It felt like every day, oh, that's another miracle. It's amazing stuff that was falling in place, and it was easy to sort of think, oh, now this is the way it's going to be forever.
Right.
This is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I've talked to, that's sort of their early experience, and it's easy to feel like, well, this is the way it's going to be now.
Yeah.
And C.S. Lewis says that that's true often early on in a person's journey with the Lord, but it doesn't necessarily stick around. And now let me give you a couple other quotes to broaden it from the Inkling that we both love.
Right.
John Stott in Basic Christianity said, "It's not always easy to follow Christ. In the beginning it may seem so. Joy and peace fill our hearts, but trial and temptation soon follow." Again, his experience is that early on it sort of seems that way.
Right.
Elizabeth Elliot, who I love in the book Secure in His Everlasting Arms, says, at the beginning of the Christian life, God often gives us what we ask. Later, he teaches us to trust when the answer is no, or even silence.
Wow, that's good.
A great quote. Again, this observation that early on it kind of goes swimmingly, really well, and then with time that's going to change.
Yes,
and so many believers describe the beginning of their faith this way, as if it was just joy and confidence and answered prayer and everything going well, and you sort of have this this euphoric experience with God. But then what they need to be prepared for is that pretty soon God's going to take the training wheels off. And it's like, now it's time to learn to really ride. And to live by faith and not necessarily by circumstances all falling in place. For the Israelites, those early years would the circumstances all fell in place. They loved the Lord, and God poured out the right weather and crops and everything perfectly for them. They didn't. He would withdraw it so that they would see this connection to their faith, and they could legitimately make the equation. We're now doing well with the Lord, and everything's going. All the circumstances verify that. But later on, that wouldn't always be the case with them. God wants to move us from just trusting circumstances to trusting Him and living by faith. I think this is true not only for the individual believer, but also on the mission field. You hear about this often in missions when the gospel goes into a new region that it hasn't ever been before, maybe a new language group or a new people group. There's often this dramatic confirmation with signs and wonders, and you start hearing, wow, there's amazing miracles that are happening in that land, and it confirms the reality of the gospel. But with time, those seem to diminish, and the people are still called to live by faith, sort of like most of our lives are too, and it's not these dramatic miracles. The same was true in the book of Acts. When God brought the gospel into all these new regions, there was this dramatic outpouring of spectacular and dramatic miracles and events. But with time, you read the epistles, you read the letters that follow, and you realize that in all those regions where these dramatic expressions took place, they were now moving more to like normal life, where the training wheels were off, the dramatic expressions were gone, and they just had to live by faith as well.
Yeah. Well, and it's so like I'm reading a book by an author named Bob Coughlin. He's a worship leader. He started in a band called Glad. I don't know if you ever heard about it. They were one of the like original Christian kind of rock bands like in the 70s.
Oh, really? No, I did never hear of him.
Okay. Yeah. Really cool guy. And one of my friends actually works with him at his church now in Virginia. And so myself and one other person on our worship team, and then our worship intern, we're all reading the book together.
Oh, nice.
And it's really, really cool book. But he talks about his musical career, and kind of the same thing. It's like he was kind of, he was following Christ and everything was going great. And he's like, everybody loves my music, like I'm doing everything that God wants me to do. Right.
Yes.
Like I'm in the band, we're writing songs, everything. And then when he ended up kind of, the band was like, okay, we're kind of going to go all, our separate ways. He's like, oh, I'll just go into worship ministry. Like, this is what I do. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, this is what I'm supposed to. And he says that he, joined this church, and, they started getting, in the first time in his musical career, or once he kind of started, got like negative reviews, and
wow.
But not negative. And
but it wasn't as easy as it had been.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It wasn't as easy. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, everybody, we've been traveling for 10 years and everybody loves us. Like, what do you mean you don't like it? You know what I mean? So he talks about how in ministry, but also in the Christian walk, that you have to navigate that those criticisms, those thorns, as he calls them, like just to navigate it, figure out, what is going to actually poke you and then what's not, you know what I mean? And what you can take as criticism, or you can take as a burden, or you can just say, no, I'm not taking that,
As much as we would like the Christian life to be all mountaintop,
right?
The valleys are important too.
Yes.
Apparently
Yes.
God thinks the valleys are important too.
Yeah.
And he takes us through both.
Right.
And usually our initial experience is mountaintop.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, not
Yes.
always, but
Yes.
often it is for a lot of, that's been my experience with a lot of people. And we need to be aware that the valleys are often where we grow the most.
Yes.
And God
Yes.
intends to
Yes.
also teach us through the hard times, and
Yeah.
when circumstances aren't there, or when he feels silent, or where you don't see his hand as evident,
Right.
as you
Right.
do in those
Yeah.
early years.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to understand what was going on for the Israelites in the Promised Land, and a principle that we can apply to all our lives. As our listeners, if you're out there and you go, that rings true for
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
then rest assured that God hasn't left, or
Right.
that
Right.
you haven't necessarily done anything wrong.
Right. Right.
That is actually a very normal part of the Christian journey.
Yes. Yeah. I used to have a coach that said that you learn more from your losses than you do your wins.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Did he say there's two sides to every puck?
no, that's yours truly.
Oh, that was yours. All right. But
Maybe I've been hit in the head too many times by a puck.
It's the same idea, right?
It is the same idea. It is the same idea.
You
Yeah,
learn
yeah, yeah.
there's two sides.
Yes,
and
there
you got
is.
to be
There's two
ready for
sides.
both.
Yeah.
Got to be ready for both.
Right. Right.
Usually, what I should have said to start with is we start off with the good side of the puck,
Yes, we do.
and then
And then-
God flips it. God flips it, and you got there, and you realize there's two sides to every puck. There's hilltops and
Yep,
valleys.
In valleys. Yeah.
That's the first deeper dive, and maybe the most important thing is to realize that often our walk with the Lord starts off, really more easy and
Mhm.
more dramatic, but he wants to take us through those
Yeah.
other seasons to really develop us as
Mhm.
believers, if you will,
Mhm.
take the training wheels off.
Yep.
Another thing, though, as I want to point out from this text, something that I didn't have a chance to really underscore in a great way on Sunday morning, is that love was the priority here, not rules. If you look at what Moses says there in Deuteronomy 11:13, he says, if you faithfully obey these commands I'm giving you today, it'd be very easy to think he's going to now list the 10 commandments, or
Right.
go into all the detailed regulations of the law, the very precise and legislated commandments. But instead he just simply summarizes it this way: to love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul.
Yeah.
That's really the priority, was love.
Yeah.
That God is taking us through these seasons because he loves us,
Mm-hmm.
and because he wants us to love him back. And anybody who's been, you and I have been, both been married for a while.
Yeah.
Me quite a bit longer than you. But anybody who's in a serious love relationship knows that it's highs and lows.
Yeah.
And sometimes going through those tough times together is what bonds you and
Mhm.
glues you together in ways that just having the giddy puppy love, the exciting, just infatuation
Right.
was never going to get you there.
No.
So it's about love.
Yes.
For God.
Yes, very much so. And also too, like it's about that struggle, that stretchingness that kind of happens when in our walk with Christ, that we can, it bends but it doesn't break.
Mhm, mhm.
It's like it's there like a relationship. It's like, when you're married, of course it's little more high stakes, in the
Right.
sense of like we're not gonna break this,
Yeah.
But when you're in a relationship with somebody for many years, you have those points, you have those highs and those lows, and you have to figure out how to work through it together and all of that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And the love is stronger, because at least it should be stronger because of it.
yeah.
And so if you are listening to this right now or watching it and you're going through a tough season,
Yeah.
don't assume that means that God doesn't love you anymore,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the relationship is now somehow strained.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that a love relationship goes through all those seasons, and they're for the strengthening of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So God
Mm-hmm.
was going for love in
Yes.
his relationship with the
Yes.
Israelites, and that's what he wanted them to see.
Mm-hmm.
The maybe a third point is that it's for our own good. We go through those seasons for our own good. He shows us the highs and lows for our own good. In verse 15 of the same chapter, God says, "I'll provide grass in the fields for your cattle, and you will eat and be satisfied." And to me, I'm just really, intrigued by that word "satisfied," because God's goal for us is really satisfied. It's not that He's trying to put us through these valleys or these tough times, or allow us to have even the highs, both the mountaintops and the valleys, because He's kind of playing with us, or He wants us to have this roller coaster experience where it's like, I don't know what's coming next. It's because He does truly want our own good. He wants us to be satisfied, and He understands that if we simply settle for these easy, quick, answers and experiences and circumstances, that we're not really going to have this deeper satisfaction that comes from Him.
Right. Well, it always reminds me of that when of that verse in Jeremiah, right? When Jeremiah 29:11, for now I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, to not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future.
Yes.
Those are God's desire for us. To be prosperous, not prosperity gospel, but I'm just in the sense of like to have that fullness of life, the fullness of love, the fullness of a relationship with your spouse, or a relationship with your children or your parents or whatever. He wants all of that for us.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He doesn't want to harm us. I don't, I can say without a doubt, but he wants us, but he also allows us to walk through the valley, to walk through the struggles, to have the burdens, and all those things, that we have to carry, but we also have to rely on Him, to do so. Over the weekend, there was the Football Hall of Fame. I know you and I are both not football guys.
Yeah, not huge. Yeah.
No. But over the weekend, there was, and I cannot remember his name right now. I cannot remember his name. If I think of it, I'll throw it in the description.
Okay.
But anyway, there's, he's this, football guy. So they're big burly guys, and he got, voted into the Hall of Fame. And so he goes up there and he so gracefully in his, bruteness of a man, right? Goes up there and he says, if when I die, if people only talk about what I did on the football field, then I have failed. As he said, as a believer in Christ, as a husband and a father, that I have failed.
Yeah.
He said, my legacy is to show Christ and to love my wife and love my daughters. He said, that is my true legacy.
Yeah.
And he said, thank you. And he walked off,
Wow.
And just like in that moment where he so could have just said, I did this, you know what I mean? I did this. I worked for this. I prospered in this. And no, he gives the glory to God and says that is his true legacy.
Yeah. That's where the true satisfaction and joy and fulfillment comes.
Yeah.
And interesting, here's a guy who had been on the mountaintop, apparently Hall of Fame.
I mean,
in a mountaintop experience, being recognized for that.
Yeah.
And showing that probably the valleys and the kind of behind the scenes part of the circumstances were even more important for him.
Yes.
I think it's a really good passage that you chose to, the Jeremiah 29:11 one, about how God prosper. How does it put it? He prospers us and
plans to prosper you and to not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. At least that's the NIV version.
Well, I think that's really good because if you think about the context of that verse, the verse actually takes place where they're in exile.
Yes.
And if you read around it, you realize this is not like, and everything's going to fall in place for you.
Yes. Yeah.
It's prospering them in exile. It's helping them prosper in Babylon.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, I will soon rescue you. He goes on to say, and you're going to be there for 70 years, which meant for almost all of them their entire lifetime.
Their lifetime, yeah.
And yet there was prosperity and blessing and meaning right there in the middle of the valley.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So it's a really good passage, which leads to the kind of the fourth final thing I want to say, and you just hinted at it, which is really cool. I don't want people to think, oh, well, great, it's going to be really enjoyable in those early years, and after that, it's just kind of drudgery.
Right.
Or it's just, now I just kind of have to grin and bear it, just it's going to be really tough, but that's just the way it is. There is, the sweetness is sweeter over time. Those early days are sweet, but faithfulness over the long haul leads to a deeper sweetness and joy and pleasure and excitement and satisfaction in the Lord.
Yeah.
Psalm 16:11 says, you make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence and eternal pleasures at your right hand. And I love this idea of just this joy that grows with time as you follow the path of life. That's the just like a human relationship that's sweet. With time, it grows sweeter, even through the valleys and in the hard times too.
Yes.
So, God's goal is not that those early days would be sugar and everything else is salt, but it's the idea that the sugar and salt together ends up being this, in the long run, even better. Like right now, salt in like salted chocolate or something, like you kind of put a little salt in chocolate, it makes it a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's like there's some real specialty desserts right now that have a little salt in them, and they're even tastier because of those seasons, those hard seasons as well.
Very much so.
Well, I hope that's a helpful way for you to think about it. Again, something we haven't talked about before, something I haven't even talked very much about, but that idea that it's okay if those early years are really kind of problem-free, but don't expect that to be the long-term experience. Right. And it's okay if it's not. It's okay if things change. God's still at work, and His purpose in your life are still playing themselves out, probably in ways that you don't even realize.
Right, for sure.
All right, you said something earlier about a photo or something want to bring up?
Okay, Remy and I were on our way to go get with the whole family, but we were on our way to go get our haircuts.
Okay.
And so we're driving on the freeway, and I think it was either Mandy or Remy, I can't remember. They were like, "Oh my gosh, look at that bus!"
Okay,
and
nice.
so I didn't see it because I was driving, so it was off, in the distance. And Mandy goes, "We got to go find it." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Chase it on the freeway?
Yes, like go chase. Well, it was parked in a parking lot.
Oh, okay.
But we're driving on the freeway. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
So she's suggesting you have to get off the freeway and go find it.
So we were on our way to get our haircuts. So we went to go get our haircuts. And then after the haircut, she's like, "Okay, I dropped a pin to like where I think it is."
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we just have to figure out where, we'll see it.
Yeah.
If it's still parked, we'll see it in this general area. Okay. So she set the pin, and then we drove to the pin, and we drove around for a little bit, and we ended up finding it. Okay. Okay.
I love
I'm
this
showing
so
you.
much.
I'm going to show everybody too, but
Okay.
I'm showing you right now. Look at this bus.
Oh. What?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's real too. Is that?
Yes. Here, you can zoom in.
That's your kid standing in front of it.
Yeah.
So, you guys are seeing on
Sure.
the screen if you're watching, but if you're just listening, it's a bus, a Volkswagen bus.
Yeah.
That's been turned into a giant, like a lunch box.
Yeah, like
a igloo or a
a Playmate lunch box.
Lunch
Yeah.
bag.
Yeah. 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 It has the huge top and everything, and then on the inside, it was all gutted out. Like they had the two front seats, but there was nothing in the back. And it's made
so funny.
And I guess the company that Playmate that makes the igloo, the coolers or whatever, that's their headquarters.
Wow.
Yeah. And so they just parked the bus there, I guess, and
I've never seen that here in San Diego. I have to look for that. So if you see that, take a picture and send it to me too.
Yeah.
So I'm a big VW bus aficionado. I drive one. So thank you, your family.
Of course. Yeah, we found it.
Treasure hunt to find that great thing. I get photos all the time of Volkswagen buses. People.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, someone sent me a picture of a barbecue grill that looks like a Volkswagen bus. They turned the barbecue grill into a VW bus. Someone else sent me one of a boat.
Yeah,
that
there
looks
you go.
like a VW
there you
bus.
Go. There you go. You should get a tattoo of a bus.
A bus tattoo? How do you know I don't?
I guess I don't. It's on your back. It's
I love it. All right. Well, we have listener questions. One for you and one for me.
Cool.
Actually.
Cool.
So I'm going to start with the one for you. It's kind of a technical question.
Okay.
I don't even know. It was when someone asked me this question in person, and I go, I could no more answer that. That's totally out of my realm.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I don't know either.
You probably do know. So he was listening to your opening and closing song on Sunday morning.
Yes.
So just this past Sunday.
Sure.
I think back on the songs that you sang.
Yes, I'm thinking.
And his question was the opening and closing song a trumpet or a trombone?
A trumpet or a trombone? Oh, it actually is a synth. So it's a synthesizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it trying to mimic a trumpet or a trombone, or is
not really?
Not necessarily.
It just I think it just hits the same register.
Okay.
If we want to start to get technical,
it's already technical.
most trumpets and trombones are in what they call a B flat clef, which means that in music your most typical clefs are your treble clef, all your high notes, your bass clef, all your low notes, and then there's clefs in between those two clefs, right? Sorry, I'm losing people. I'm already lost. I'm already lost.
I am so lost right now.
David, your son, and he could explain. He would know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right.
So anyway, there's a clef called a B flat clef, which is in between those two clefs, and a lot of horns, trumpets, trombones, a lot of woodwinds are in that clef or in that register. So whoever did ask that question has a really good ear.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, because the song that we played was in B flat.
There you go.
So registering wise, you're hearing the same note that a trumpet would hit. So that's where it does.
On synth, which is short for synthesizer.
Right, which is just like a fancy keyboard.
Yeah. Fancy keyboard. So there's your answer. That was impressive, and that's like stuff we would never get into normally, but the question brings it out. So
there you go.
Well done on that listener question.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The question for me was someone wrote in asking, how's the mustache coming? They said I couldn't see it very well on the on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you couldn't see it because it was gone.
Right.
Now I've got a little bit of a beard going.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
So I got the whole beard going, but it's not going to last long either.
No,
the mustache got quite a few comments when I was starting
it.
And then Cindy put a kibosh on it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
She said, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So then I decided to shave it. And then we were in Yosemite last week, and I grew a little bit of a beard here, but this is probably not lasting long either.
Yeah.
Because Cindy said, what are you doing?
I know some of our listeners have gotten pretty intense with the mustache growing.
Oh, really?
Gotten beard oil, and so I think in a few weeks we're going to see some impressive mustaches.
All right, and we'll take credit for it.
And we'll take credit for it, of course.
The podcast is starting a mustache craze.
Yes,
in our area.
Yes. I think we vicarious, right? Is that vicarious? We can vicariously live through our listeners' mustache growth. Yeah. Because both of our wives shut it down.
For the record, Ryan doesn't have a mustache either.
I do not.
If you're looking closely on the camera and going, is there one there? It's not there.
I have a little 5 o'clock shadow, but that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for those questions. Send in your questions at unhurriedpodcast@gmail.com, or you can ask them right on our YouTube comments, and we'll do our best to address them.
Mm-hmm.
I do think we have one hat, at least the last hat left. So if you want to enter to win that, they're going to become extinct pretty soon. Only you see them, people wearing them. Hopefully they send us photos of them wearing them.
Yes, that'd be great.
Places or
and the mugs in different places too.
Leave a comment on this podcast, or on YouTube, or send us an email on unhurriedpodcast@gmail.com. I hope this has been an encouragement to you. This has been a deeper dive into a message that I gave last Sunday. It was called Leaving Egypt Behind. If you'd like to catch it, you can go to the Green Valley Church podcast or greenvalleychurch.com, where I unpack the passage verse by verse. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Doug.
Good. It's good to have a conversation with you again. Thank you to our enthusiastic viewers and listeners. Until next time, this has been Unhurried with me, your host, Doug Kyle, and I look forward to talking soon.